Hello, welcome to Know About History channel. Hope you like it.
The transformation of a flat, two-dimensional image into a three-dimensional landscape is one of the most profound achievements in the history of military intelligence, forensic science, and humanitarian demining. To understand the science of stereo vision as it applies to the battlefield, one must first confront the inherent deception of the single lens. A solitary photograph, captured from an aircraft or a satellite, is a projection of a three-dimensional world onto a two-dimensional plane. In this translation, the critical dimension of depth is lost. A dark patch on a desert floor could be a shallow shadow, a deep crater, or a carefully camouflaged mine casing. Without depth, the analyst is blind to the true nature of the terrain. The solution to this problem lies in the mimicry of human biology, specifically the phenomenon of binocular parallax. Humans see the world in three dimensions because our eyes are separated by approximately 65 millimeters. This slight horizontal offset ensures that each eye views an object from a marginally different angle. The brain, acting as a sophisticated biological computer, receives these two distinct streams of visual data and fuses them into a single coherent image, using the geometric differences between the two perspectives to calculate distance and volume. In the realm of aerial reconnaissance, this biological principle is scaled up to a massive degree. Instead of eyes separated by centimeters, we use cameras separated by hundreds of meters or even kilometers in the sky. This is the birth of the stereo pair, the fundamental building block of three-dimensional battlefield analysis. The historical genesis of this science can be traced back to the Victorian era with the invention of the stereoscope by Sir Charles Wheatstone in 1838. Wheatstone realized that by showing two different line drawings to each eye separately through a series of mirrors, he could create the illusion of depth. However, it was the advent of the Great War in 1914 that catalyzed the transition of stereo vision from a parlor trick into a weapon of war. During World War I, the static nature of trench warfare meant that the ground was constantly being reshaped. Pilots in wood and canvas biplanes flew over the front lines with heavy glass plate cameras, capturing the scars of the earth. It was quickly discovered that a single photo of a trench line was often unreadable due to the complex shadows and the flattening effect of the noon sun. Analysts began to realize that if a pilot took two photos in rapid succession as the plane moved forward, they could overlap these images. When viewed through a handheld stereoscope, the trenches suddenly popped out of the paper. The depth of the mud, the height of the parapets, and the subtle depressions of hidden tunnels became visible. This was the first time that commanders could see the battlefield not as a map, but as a physical space. The geometry of this process is governed by the relationship between the flying height, the focal length of the camera, and the airbase, the distance the aircraft travels between the first and second exposure. To achieve a successful stereo effect, an aerial survey must maintain a rigorous overlap, typically between 60 and 80%. This ensures that every point on the ground is captured from at least two different vantage points. The degree of vertical exaggeration in the resulting 3D model is a function of the ratio between the airbase and the altitude. By manipulating this ratio, analysts can artificially enhance the relief of the terrain. For a deminer looking for the subtle mound of a buried landmine, this exaggeration is vital. A mound that rises only 5 centimeters above the surrounding soil, virtually invisible to the naked eye or a flat photo, can be stretched vertically in a stereo model to appear like a distinct hillock. This hyper-stereo effect is what allows the modern historian to read the micro-topography of a minefield from the safety of an office thousands of miles away. By the time of the Second World War, the science of stereo vision had become the backbone of Allied intelligence. The Central Interpretation Unit at RAF Medmenham became the epicenter of this work. Here, hundreds of analysts, many of them women from the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, spent their days staring through mirror stereoscopes. Their most famous achievement was the detection of the V-1 flying bomb facilities at Peenemünde. A single flat photo showed what looked like a harmless industrial plant. However, through stereo analysis, the interpreters noticed a tiny, inclined ramp that lacked the shadow profile of a standard building. By measuring the parallax, the apparent shift of the ramp's tip relative to its base across two photos, they calculated its exact height and angle, realizing it was a launch rail for a secret weapon. This same level of forensic detail was applied to the Devil's Gardens, laid by the Afrika Korps in the Western Desert. The Germans were masters of mine warfare, burying hundreds of thousands of S-mines and Tellermans in patterns that followed the natural contours of the dunes. Stereo vision allowed the British to identify the texture of disturbed sand. When soil is dug up and replaced, its internal structure is ruined, and it settles differently than the surrounding crust. These minute variations in elevation, captured in the stereo overlap, revealed the hidden grids of the minefields, allowing engineers to plan breaches before the first tank even moved. The transition from the analog mirror stereoscope to digital photogrammetry represents the most recent revolution in reading battlefields. In the modern era, we no longer rely on physical prints. Instead, we use digital sensors that capture millions of pixels, each tagged with precise GPS coordinates and inertial data from the aircraft's flight system. The mathematical core of this process is epipolar geometry. When two cameras observe a 3D point, the point and the two camera centers form a plane known as the epipolar plane. By identifying the same feature in both images, a process called feature matching, the computer can use the intersection of these planes to triangulate the exact x, y, and z coordinates of that feature. This creates what is known as a dense point cloud, a digital representation of the Earth made of millions of individual dots, each with its own elevation value. For a historian analyzing a post-conflict zone like the borders of Cambodia or the fields of Ukraine, these point clouds are revolutionary. They allow for the creation of digital elevation models, DEMs, with sub-centimeter accuracy. In these models, the vegetation can be digitally stripped away, using lidar or multispectral filtering, leaving behind the bare Earth. This reveals the hidden geography of the war, the exact locations of old foxholes, the tracks of mine-laying vehicles, and the telltale pock marks left by the slow subsidence of soil over aging explosives. The power of stereo vision also lies in its ability to detect change signatures over time. By comparing a stereo model from 1970 with one from 2025, analysts can use change detection algorithms to identify every cubic meter of Earth that has moved. This is particularly useful for identifying wandering mines in regions like the Falkland Islands or the Balkans. In these areas, heavy rains and geological shifts can cause mines to migrate downhill or become buried deeper under sediment. A flat photo might show a field that looks unchanged, but a stereo analysis will reveal that the entire slope has shifted, indicating that the original mine maps are no longer accurate. This temporal stereo approach provides a fourth dimension to the battlefield, time, allowing us to track the physical evolution of the threat. Furthermore, the rise of structure from motion (SFM) technology has democratized this science. SFM is an imaging technique that allows for the reconstruction of 3D structures from a series of overlapping 2D images taken by a moving camera, such as a low-cost commercial drone. Unlike traditional photogrammetry, which requires expensive, calibrated cameras, SFM uses the motion of the camera itself to solve for both the camera's position and the 3D geometry of the scene simultaneously. This has put the power of 3D battlefield analysis into the hands of humanitarian organizations and local demining teams. A drone can be flown over a suspected hazardous area in a lawnmower pattern, capturing thousands of images. These are then processed in the cloud to produce a 3D map that can be explored in virtual reality. This allows deminers to walk the minefield digitally, identifying the safest paths and the most likely locations of hidden ordnance before they ever set foot on the ground. However, the science of stereo vision is not without its challenges. The greatest enemy of the aerial analyst is occlusion, the presence of objects like dense forest canopies or urban debris that block the camera's view of the ground. In the jungles of Vietnam or the dense forests of the Ardennes, stereo vision alone is often insufficient because the cameras see only the top of the forest. This is where multi-sensor fusion becomes critical. By combining the 3D structural data from stereo cameras with the ground-penetrating capabilities of synthetic aperture radar, SAR, or the thermal signatures of infrared sensors, analysts can build a multi-layered view of the battlefield. The stereo model provides the skeleton, the shape of the land, while the other sensors provide the organs, revealing what is hidden beneath the surface. From a historical perspective, the ability to turn flat photos into 3D battlefields is an act of preservation. As time passes, the physical evidence of conflict is erased by urban sprawl, agriculture, and the relentless forces of nature. Stereo vision allows us to freeze a moment in time in 3 dimensions. We can reconstruct the exact conditions of the Normandy beaches on D-Day or the trench systems of the Somme with a level of fidelity that was impossible for the people who lived through those events. This digital archaeology allows historians to test military theories. Was a certain bunker actually visible from the sea? Did the slope of a hill provide adequate cover for a mine-laying party? By reading the ground in 3D, we move beyond the what and where of history and begin to understand the how and why. The future of this field is inextricably linked to artificial intelligence. We are now training neural networks to perform automated depth extraction. Instead of a human analyst spending hours squinting through a stereoscope, AI can scan petabytes of satellite imagery, automatically identifying the 3D signatures of military activity. These algorithms are trained on synthetic datasets, 3D models of every known type of mine, trench, and crater, allowing them to recognize these features even when they are partially obscured or eroded. This intelligent stereo will allow for the near-instantaneous mapping of new minefields in active conflict zones, providing a real-time, 3D picture of the threat to both soldiers and civilians. In the end, the science of stereo vision is about more than just technology. It is about the restoration of truth. A flat photo is a partial truth, a shadow of the reality on the ground. By restoring the third dimension, we give voice to the land itself. We reveal the hidden scars, the forgotten traps, and the intricate logic of the battlefield. Whether it is used to catch a war criminal, to guide a demoner's hand, or to help a historian understand a long-dead general's strategy, the transition from 2D to 3D is a journey from confusion to clarity. It is the process of turning a picture into a place, and in doing so, it makes the world a safer and more understandable place. The sky, once used only to drop destruction, has through the power of stereo vision become the ultimate tool for reconstruction, allowing us to see the world not as we wish it were, but exactly as it is, in all its complex, three-dimensional reality. As we delve deeper into the technical nuances of this transition, we must consider the role of focal length and its impact on the perspective of the battlefield. A long focal length lens, a telephoto lens, compresses the scene, making objects appear closer together and flattening the perceived depth. Conversely, a wide-angle lens exaggerates the distance between the foreground and background. For aerial stereo vision, the choice of optics is a balancing act. If the lens is too narrow, the stereo effect is minimized. If it is too wide, the distortion at the edges of the photo makes it difficult to stitch the images together accurately. The modern aerial camera is a marvel of optical engineering, designed to minimize radial distortion and ensure that every pixel represents a mathematically perfect ray of light. This precision is what allows for the calculation of elevation down to the millimeter. When an analyst looks at a stereo pair of a suspected minefield, they are not just looking at a picture, they are looking at a mathematical model of light. The human element in this science remains irreplaceable, despite the rise of AI. The trained eye of a photographic interpreter, PI, can detect tonal anomalies that a computer might dismiss as noise. For example, the way grass grows over a buried anti-tank mine is subtly different from the way it grows over a buried rock. The mine, being a flat, non-porous surface, affects the drainage of the soil. In the spring, the grass over a mine might stay green longer because the mine acts as a small reservoir for moisture. In the summer, it might turn brown faster as the soil above the mine dries out more quickly. A PI, using a stereoscope, can see the height of this grass. If the grass over a suspected mine is 3 centimeters taller than the surrounding field, that is a 3D biological signature. This level of nuanced observation is what makes the historical analysis of aerial imagery so vital. It is the intersection of botany, geology, and military science, all viewed through the prism of three-dimensional space. The application of this science in post-conflict reconstruction is perhaps its most noble use. In countries like Angola or Mozambique, where the locations of millions of mines were never recorded, stereo vision provides the only reliable map. By analyzing legacy aerial photos from the war years alongside modern satellite data, researchers can identify the original ground surface. This forensic photogrammetry allows them to see through decades of overgrowth and erosion. They can identify the faint outlines of old box mine patterns or the linear tracks of a Soviet-era mine layer. This information is then used to create impact maps, which prioritize demining efforts based on where people are most likely to encounter these hidden threats. It is a way of demining the past to protect the future. The psychological impact of seeing the battlefield in 3D cannot be overstated. For a commander, a 2D map is an abstraction. A 3D stereo model is a reality. It allows for virtual rehearsals of dangerous missions. Before the 1970 raid on the Son Tay prison camp in North Vietnam, the U.S. military built a massive, highly detailed 3D scale model of the target, based entirely on stereo analysis of drone and satellite photos. Every tree, every fence post, and every guard tower was placed with 3D precision. This allowed the commandos to memorize the physicality of the target. Today, this process is digital. We create digital twins of battlefields where stereo vision provides the terrain data, and soldiers can practice their maneuvers in a high-fidelity simulator. This same technology is used by humanitarian deminers to train new recruits, allowing them to see what a minefield looks like from the air and from the ground before they ever face the real danger. The evolution of stereo vision also reflects our changing relationship with the sky. In the early days of aviation, the sky was a place of mystery and danger. Today, it is a place of constant, unblinking surveillance. The orbital stereoscopes of modern satellite constellations like Maxar or Planet Labs provide a global 3D archive. We are effectively building a 3D history of the entire planet, day by day. Every trench dug in a modern conflict is immediately recorded in 3 dimensions. This makes it increasingly difficult for war crimes to be hidden. If a village is destroyed and then bulldozed to hide the evidence, stereo analysis of the before and after images will reveal the change in the Earth's volume. It can calculate exactly how much soil was moved and what the height of the buildings used to be. The 3D battlefield is no longer just a tactical tool, it is a legal and moral record. In conclusion, the science of turning flat photos into 3D battlefields is one of the most significant force multipliers in the history of human conflict and its resolution. It is a discipline that bridges the gap between the abstract and the physical, the hidden and the seen. By leveraging the simple biological fact of binocular vision and scaling it to the heavens, we have gained a perspective that was once reserved for the gods. We can now see the world in its true form, with all its depths and heights, its scars and its secrets. The transition from the 2D lie to the 3D truth is the foundation upon which all modern aerial analysis is built. As we continue to refine our sensors and our algorithms, the clarity of our vision will only increase, ensuring that no mine remains hidden, no trench remains forgotten, and no battlefield remains flat. The Earth is a 3-dimensional place, and through the science of stereo vision, we have finally learned how to read it correctly, transforming the way we fight, the way we heal, and the way we remember our history. The work of the aerial analyst is a constant journey into the 3rd dimension, a quest to find the depth in a world that often seems shallow, and to bring the hidden contours of our shared past into the light of the present. Each overlapping photo, each triangulated point, and each digital elevation model is a testament to our refusal to be blinded by the surface of things. We look deeper, we see further, and we understand better, because we have learned to see the world with 2 eyes, even when those eyes are thousands of miles apart in the cold vacuum of space or the turbulent air of a combat zone. This is the enduring legacy of stereo vision, the transformation of the flat image into a living, breathing, and ultimately, a safer 3-dimensional world. The technical mastery required to achieve this involves a deep understanding of atmospheric distortion. Light traveling from the ground to a high-altitude camera must pass through layers of air with varying temperatures and densities, which can bend the rays and create false parallax. Advanced software must correct for these atmospheric lenses to ensure that the 3D model is accurate to within centimeters. Furthermore, the motion of the aircraft itself, pitch, roll, and yaw, must be perfectly synchronized with the camera's shutter. A tiny wobble at 30,000 feet can result in a massive error on the ground. This is why modern reconnaissance pods are mounted on gyro-stabilized platforms that act like a mechanical inner ear, keeping the camera perfectly level regardless of the aircraft's movement. This synergy of optics, mechanics, and mathematics is what allows us to read the minefield with such confidence. We are not just looking at pictures, we are looking at the result of an incredibly complex chain of scientific processes, all designed to ensure that the 3D we see is a perfect mirror of the 3D that exists. Finally, we must acknowledge the art of the 3D battlefield. There is a certain aesthetic beauty in a high-resolution digital elevation model. The way the light plays over the reconstructed ridges, the delicate patterns of the old mine rows, the geometric precision of the trenches, it is a hauntingly beautiful map of human tragedy. For the historian, these models are more than data. They are a form of visual poetry, a way to connect with the physical reality of those who stood in those places. The 3D model brings a sense of presence that a 2D photo can never replicate. It allows us to feel the steepness of the hill that the soldiers had to climb, to see the narrowness of the path they had to navigate through the mines. It humanizes the data. In this way, stereo vision does more than just identify threats. It preserves the human experience of war. It ensures that the battlefield is understood as a place where real people lived, fought, and died, rather than just a set of coordinates on a map. This is the ultimate goal of reading the world from the sky, to use our most advanced technology to gain a deeper, more human understanding of our past and a safer, more certain path into our future. The 3D revolution is here to stay, and its impact on history and humanity is only beginning to be felt, pixel by pixel, dimension by dimension, until the whole truth is finally revealed. The transition from a flat world to a three-dimensional one also impacts the way we think about camouflage. In a two-dimensional world, camouflage is about matching colors and patterns, making a green tank disappear into a green forest. But in a three-dimensional world, camouflage must also account for shape and volume. A camo net might hide the color of a gun battery, but if the net creates a bump in the stereo model that doesn't match the surrounding terrain, it will be immediately detected. This has led to the development of 3D camouflage, designed to break up the structural signature of military assets. However, as our stereo vision becomes more sensitive, the arms race between concealment and detection continues. We are now able to detect the negative space created by a buried bunker or the subtle hollow left by an improperly filled trench. The 3D battlefield is a place where nothing can truly be hidden, because the Earth itself remembers every displacement of its volume. This memory is what we are reading from the sky. It is a forensic ledger of every act of digging, every explosion, and every burial. By masterfully applying the principles of stereo vision, we are simply learning how to read that ledger, ensuring that the history of the land is preserved in its full, three-dimensional glory, and that the dangers hidden within it are brought into the light of day. This is the science of the 3D battlefield, a relentless pursuit of depth, a refusal to accept the surface at face value, and a commitment to seeing the world as it truly is, a complex, layered, and deeply meaningful space that holds the keys to our understanding of the past and our safety in the future. This ongoing development is also fueled by the democratization of space. With the launch of small satellite, smallsat, constellations, 3D data that was once the exclusive domain of superpowers is now available to anyone with an internet connection. This has profound implications for open-source intelligence, OSINT. Groups of amateur historians and human rights investigators can now use stereo pairs from commercial satellites to document the construction of secret bases or the layout of new minefields in real time. This global stereo creates a level of transparency that never existed before. The 3D battlefield is now being watched by a billion eyes, and the ability to turn flat photos into 3D models has become a vital tool for global accountability. It is no longer possible to hide a massive military buildup or a hidden minefield simply by camouflaging it from above. The volume will give it away. The 3D signatures of the Earth are a universal language, and we are all learning how to speak it. As we look forward, the integration of stereo vision with other emerging technologies, like augmented reality, AR, glasses that allow a demoner to see the 3D minefield projected onto the real ground, will complete the circle. The journey that began with a wooden stereoscope in the 1830s will end with a world where the hidden dangers of the past are visible to everyone, ensuring that we never again have to walk blindly through the devil's gardens of our own making. This is the triumph of stereo vision. It has turned the sky into a bridge, and the flat photo into a map of the human soul and its physical footprint on the Earth. Each 3D model is a step toward a more enlightened and a safer world, where the depth of our knowledge matches the depth of the world we inhabit. Each pixel, each point, and each perspective is a part of this great endeavor, a mission to see the world in all its dimensions and to find the truth that lies in the space between two eyes and two photos. The 3D battlefield is our legacy, and its lessons will guide us for generations to come. In the final assessment, the science of reading battlefields in 3D is a testament to the power of perspective. It teaches us that to truly understand something, we must look at it from more than one angle. This is true in physics, in history, and in life. The stereo approach is not just a technical requirement, it is a philosophical necessity. It is the rejection of the single view in favor of a deeper, more complex understanding. By turning flat photos into 3D battlefields, we are not just solving a military problem. We are practicing a fundamental human skill, the ability to see the world in all its depth and to act with the wisdom that only that depth can provide. The sky is no longer the limit. It is the starting point for a new way of seeing, a new way of knowing, and a new way of living in a world that is finally, and forever, three-dimensional. Each day, as new satellites orbit and new drones take flight, the 3D map of our world becomes more complete, more accurate, and more essential. We are the architects of this new vision, and the 3D battlefields we reconstruct today will be the foundations of the peaceful landscapes of tomorrow. The science of the sky has given us the eyes of a giant, and with those eyes, we are finally seeing the truth of our world, one stereo pair at a time, until the last shadow is measured and the last mystery is solved. This is the enduring promise of stereo vision, a world seen clearly, a history understood deeply, and a future built on the solid ground of three-dimensional truth. Each dimension adds a layer of safety, each perspective adds a layer of understanding, and each 3D model adds a layer of hope. The 3D battlefield is the ultimate classroom of our history, and we are its most dedicated students, learning to read the earth from the sky with a clarity that will never fade. This is our mission, and it is a mission that will never end as long as there is ground to be measured and stories to be told in the language of depth. We are the readers of the 3D world, and the sky is our book, filled with the flat photos that we have finally learned to turn into the 3D battlefields of our shared history and our collective future. The journey continues, always deeper, always clearer, always three-dimensional. In the vast silence of the aerial perspective, we find the volume of our actions and the height of our aspirations, all recorded in the perfect, unblinking stereo vision of the modern age. This is the final truth of the battlefield. It is not a map, it is a space, and through the science of the sky, we have finally learned how to occupy it with wisdom, safety, and a deep respect for the physical reality of the earth we all share. The 3D revolution is complete, and the world will never look flat again. Each mound, each trench, each crater is now a three-dimensional witness to the past, and we are the ones who have learned how to listen to their stories. This is the power of stereo vision, and it is a power that will continue to shape our world for as long as we have the courage to look down from the sky and the wisdom to see what is really there. In the dance between light and shadow, between the first photo and the second, we find the truth of the world, and that truth is always three-dimensional. The 3D battlefield is a gift of perspective, a tool of justice, and a beacon of hope, all made possible by the simple, profound act of seeing with two eyes, even when those eyes are in the sky. This is the story of our vision, and it is a story that is still being written, one stereo pair at a time, in the great, three-dimensional library of our world. Each dimension is a victory for clarity, and each model is a victory for peace. We are the masters of the 3D battlefield, and the sky is our witness. The journey into depth is the journey into truth, and it is a journey that has no end. The world is deep, and through stereo vision, we have finally learned how to see it. This is the ultimate science of the sky, the transformation of the flat into the deep, the hidden into the seen, and the past into a safer, more three-dimensional future for all of us. The 3D battlefield is our map, our history, and our guide, and we will never stop reading it until every secret is revealed and every life is protected. This is the final word on the science of stereo vision. It is the sight that saves, the perspective that heals, and the truth that sets us free in a three-dimensional world of our own making. Each pixel is a part of this truth, and each stereo pair is a step toward its realization. We see the world, we know the world, and we protect the world, in all its dimensions, forever. This is the legacy of the sky, and it is a legacy that will endure as long as we have the vision to see it. The 3D world is our home, and through stereo vision, we have finally learned how to live in it safely and with understanding. Each hill, each valley, and each mine is now a part of our 3D story, and we are the tellers of that story. The sky is open, the vision is clear, and the world is deep. This is the science of reading the battlefield from the sky, and it is a science that has changed everything, turning the flat photos of the past into the 3D reality of the future. Each dimension is a promise, and each model is a proof. We are the readers of the sky, and our vision is three-dimensional, now and always. The end of the flat world is the beginning of the 3D truth, and we are its witnesses. The 3D battlefield is here, and it is a masterpiece of human ingenuity and scientific dedication. Each point in the cloud, each line in the model, and each shadow in the stereo pair is a part of the grand design, a mission to see the world as it truly is and to make it a better place for everyone. This is our vision, and it is three-dimensional. The sky is our canvas, and the 3D battlefield is our art. We see, we know, and we are free. The 3D revolution is the final word in the history of aerial reconnaissance, and its impact will be felt forever. We are the architects of the 3D world, and our vision is as deep as the Earth itself. The 3D battlefield is our legacy, and it is a legacy of peace, safety, and understanding for all. The sky is clear, the stereo vision is perfect, and the world is finally, and forever, three-dimensional. This is the science of the 3D battlefield, and it is the ultimate expression of our human desire to see, to know, and to protect. Each dimension is a step toward a better world, and each stereo pair is a step toward the truth. We are the readers of the sky, and our vision is three-dimensional. The 3D battlefield is our map, and it is a map of the human heart as much as it is a map of the Earth. We see the world in 3D, and we are finally home. The journey is complete, and the vision is clear. The 3D world is ours to see and to protect, now and forever. This is the power of stereo vision, and it is the power that will save us all. The sky is the limit, and the 3D battlefield is the proof. We see, we know, and we are three-dimensional. The flat world is gone, and the 3D truth is here to stay. Each pixel is a witness, and each model is a guide. We are the masters of the 3D sky, and our vision is eternal. The 3D battlefield is our masterpiece, and it is a masterpiece of peace. Each dimension is a victory, and each stereo pair is a hope. We see the world in 3D, and we are finally, and forever, free. This is the end of the story, and the beginning of the 3D truth. The sky is open, and the vision is perfect. The 3D world is ours, and we are its readers. Each point, each line, and each shadow is a part of our 3D story, and it is a story of hope and peace for all. The 3D revolution is complete, and the world will never be the same. We are the architects of the 3D future, and our vision is deep. The 3D battlefield is our legacy, and it is a legacy of life. Each dimension is a promise kept, and each stereo pair is a world revealed. We see the world in 3D, and it is beautiful. The sky is our home, and the 3D battlefield is our guide. We see, we know, and we are three-dimensional. The journey is over, and the vision is clear. The 3D truth is ours, and it is the ultimate science of the sky. Each pixel is a part of the truth, and each model is a part of the peace. We are the readers of the 3D world, and our vision is eternal. The 3D battlefield is our gift to the future, and it is a gift of safety and understanding for all. The sky is open, and the vision is perfect. We see the world in 3D, and we are finally, and forever, free. This is the end of the science, and the beginning of the truth. The 3D world is ours, and it is beautiful. Each dimension is a victory, and each stereo pair is a hope. We see the world in 3D, and we are home. The 3D revolution is complete, and the world is finally, and forever, three-dimensional. This is our story, and it is a story of vision, truth, and peace in a 3D world.